When Naomi Osaka takes the court at the French Open, the world #2 won't be taking any questions from the press. The four-time Grand Slam winner saying on social media that she won't do any news conferences at the tournament because of mental health concerns. Osaka says taking questions from journalists after tough matches is like kicking a person while they're down. Joining me now, Ari Chambers, founder of women's sports vertical Highlight Her. Ari, Osaka also saying this: I've often felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health, and this rings true whenever I see a press conference or partake in one. I got to tell you, I'm a huge sports fan. It kills me to watch losing coaches and players do those post interviews. They are so painful. Your thoughts on Osaka's decision here?
Yeah, I think it's ironic that it comes in Mental Health Awareness Month, right? It shows the dissociation we have between athletes and their humanity. And Lexi Brown actually tweeted earlier that social media is blurring the lines of athletics and humanity behind them. So I'm proud of her for setting boundaries and showing like, hey, I need to be in a space where I can compete so I can perform at the highest level and not have to worry about the potential sabotage it might have on me in my mental state. Because as they're training physically, it's equally as important to have them train mentally. And, you know, you see athletes stepping up boldly and saying, hey, no, I need to put me first. And so kudos to her.
Yeah, you bring up that mental toughness. It's so important for athletes. But look, coverage is also so important for the sport and the tournaments, especially women's sports. We know they often get way less coverage and airtime and money than men's sports. So how can we find that balance between reporting on sports and respecting the players?
I think that we need to take a look at who's in those rooms, who is connecting with these players. This media's responsibility to not only push stories, but actually listen and bring out that humanity that I spoke to beforehand. And just, you know, players are capitalizing off of the fact that they know that they can be their own brand at this point. So the rise of social media, again, I keep pounding it in people's ear because that's the future of this. The athletes are owning their own narratives, but just making sure that they're cognizant, hey, you know, as this media, I'm not trying to be toxic for you, but that's accountability on the media's end as well, because you saw what she went through as she was wearing the victims of police brutality on her mask and her wardrobe last year. And we saw the questioning that followed that. And it was really frustrating, especially an athlete of color, a woman of color that's trying to make a stance, trying to bring out the, again, humanity in situations, and had to be subjected to a line of questioning that was very tone deaf and frankly dense. And so media, we have to take responsibility, take accountability, and do better by these athletes. And it's not saying everything needs to be cookie cutter and ponies and roses, but it is knowing, being like relevant and knowing what these players are going through and empathizing with that to a certain degree.
Yeah, and look, also just being a little bit kind, right? I used to cover sports. Yeah. I've been in those news conferences before. I don't ever remember anyone saying to start, hey, I'm sorry that you lost, and I'm sorry that you're having a tough time, or how are you? We never ask those questions. We cut right to the things that we think our bosses want us to ask, or that maybe, you know, the viewers are itching to hear, and we forget we're talking to human beings who are hurting.
You know what? It's funny because that is the only message that I get from this. We need to respect the athlete as a human, treat them as a human, recognize that humanity. It is our responsibility to bring that out. We tell stories, right? These are the athletes that are telling us the stories. They're literally narrating what, like their performance is an actual depiction of what we want to get across. So Naomi, kudos to you for setting these boundaries, knowing how you can put up a wall in order to represent your country or yourself in the best way you can.
I think it's so hard, right? Because we do forget that stars like Naomi Osaka are people too. I mean, they're intimidating when you see them in person. We're in awe of them. In a lot of ways, we worship them, right? We just forget they're human. Listen, we do know there are fines for skipping Grand Slam press conferences, and Osaka has said she expects to get fined, and she hopes that this money will go to mental health charities. We know the WTA, the French Open, haven't commented yet, but what would you like to see them do here?
I would like to see them take a look at why she's acting in this manner, why she's sounding out. Because if the risk of the monetary risk for her is worth it, that's a problem. That's some deep-rooted, layered issues within that. Imagine being like, no, I'll pay the $20,000 as long as I don't have to speak to reporters. We need to take a look at ourselves in the mirror and figure out why. You know what I mean? At this point, we need to figure out why. It's that bad.
Yeah.
So just imagine. She's young too. So I mean, I understand she has millions, but $20,000 is not a piece of change. It's not.
Absolutely. We need to see some change for sure. And look, you mentioned it. This is not the first time she stood up for change. She is certainly someone who is not afraid to speak her mind. Great to see female athletes doing that across the board. And great to have you on the show. Please come back and see us again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.